Okay, today we're talking about knuckle alignment. So how are we going to hold the bat? And there's really two things that come to mind when I'm thinking about knuckle alignment. And there's a lot of myths when it comes to how to hold the bat in your hands. Now for me, the reason why how we hold the bat is so important is because it's going to determine how our arms work, specifically our rear arm. And so if we get into a position where our knuckles are rotated too far this way, well, this arm has a really difficult time of getting down and under. If we do the opposite and we get our knuckles too far this way, and I've seen a lot of players taught to do this, well, now the rear arm can only really start right here, and we can't get into a good pulled back position. So the knuckles and how we hold our hands on the bat really determine how this rear arm is going to work, which is vital in the swing. Now, the two things that we talk about when it comes to knuckle alignment and how we hold the bat, the first thing is, what are the knuckles actually going to look like? How are we going to line those knuckles up? So what you'll see most players do at a high level is they're going to have their small knocking knuckles, so the knuckles that you would knock on a door with. Those small knuckles are going to typically be somewhere in between the big knuckles and the knocking knuckles. Now you'll see a lot of major leaguers that get pretty close to this position. Some people call this a box grip, where the small knuckles are going to be lined up with the big knuckles. And then the small knuckles of this hand are going to be lined up with the big knuckles of this hand. And you'll see plenty of really high level hitters get into that position. Now I actually think that's what you'll probably see most at a high level. But you'll also see hitters, like I said, be anywhere kind of in between that position. Now, one thing that's taught mostly at lower levels of baseball is to line up your knocking knuckles. So the knocking knuckles of your left hand with the knocking knuckles of your right hand. And you might see a few players do this, but they do this a little bit differently. So they don't line it up like you'll see your typical youth baseball or softball coach teach, where they're going to line the knocking knuckles up and they're going to be in this position here where the right arm is straight down towards the ground. Or if they're a lefty, their left arm is straight down to the ground. But what you'll see is, you'll see a player, let's say an Albert Pujols. This is one player that you'll see line up those knuckles. But he isn't like this. He'll actually bend his wrist back this way so that he can still get his rear arm into position to be able to get pulled back. So I actually think that position is rare, and I think it's one of those myths where we say, oh, line up the knocking knuckles. I actually don't see that very much at a high level. I see much more hitters in this position right here. Now here's the key. I don't want to get past that position, so I don't want to allow my knocking knuckles to get past the big knuckles on my bottom hand. The more I get this way, what happens, and you can see my right arm start to rise, right? And this position right here, we talk about getting our rear elbow behind our hand, so in this position. But the more I go this way, the more my elbow kind of flares out, and from here, I cannot get in the position to be able to turn my barrel back. It just makes it really, really difficult. And what you'll see a lot of players do that get into this position is they'll push. So this right arm can't get down and under, and so they'll push their hands this way, and the barrel will usually get out and cut across. So they just won't have bat speed because their barrel can't get turned back. So be careful that we're not going too far this way. Right? And as I said before, we don't want to get into a position where we go knocking knuckles lined up and our right arm or our rear arm gets like this. Again, for a lefty, it's like this. Because if we get into this position, we can never get pulled back. And what's going to happen is you're going to lead with your rear arm, and your barrel is going to drop or drag, and you're going to lose your barrel. Right? So you'll have this racing rear arm, which if you coach young players, you see a ton of young players do this. A lot of times it's because there's a lack of strength in young players, but it does not help when a lot of coaches are trying to tell their players to be in this position. Because once I get here, I can't get pulled back, I can't use my back, now I get armsy, my rear arm races forward, my barrel gets too heavy, it drops, and I'm under everything. And that could be prevented if we just get into a better position with our hands. So that's the first thing. How are we going to line up our knuckles? Now, the second thing is the depth in which you're going to hold the bat. So how deep in the palm are you going to hold it? And so the way that I think about this is, if I have my hand here, I want to hold the bat right where my fingers basically meet my palm. So right there. So if I rest the bat right there, you can see I'm right in that position. Now sometimes players and coaches especially get carried away with this and they say, keep the bat out in your fingertips, right? Well, I'm not very strong when I'm out in my fingertips like this. I want you to do a test real quick. I want you to take your hand and take your finger on your other hand. And I want you to put that finger into your open hand. I want you to close it. Now I want you to move the finger around. So maybe first start off with it way up here near the ends of your fingers. Now try to pull your finger out and it comes out very easily because you can't get a good grip on your finger, right? I want you to do the same thing and I want you to put it way down here at the bottom of your palm and grab on. You can pull your hand out very, very easily, right? And so both down here and up here, you can't get a good grip on the bat. But if you put it right across that position where your fingers meet your palm and now close and grab, now try to pull. You cannot pull your finger out. So if you were going to take a hammer, right, just think about how you would grab a hammer. You would grab it and put it right in that position because that's the strongest position to be able to hammer the nail. Well, it's the same thing with my bat. When I get to contact, I need to be in a strong position, right? And so, again, we get carried away sometimes and we say, oh, we can't be grabbing the bat too tight. Well, we don't want to be tense, right? But we need to be able to have a firm enough grip on the bat so that when we get into the contact position, we've got, pretty good hold of that. I don't want the bat out here where I don't really have control of the bat. And the same thing if it gets too deep. So just think about laying the bat right across that area right there, and you can grab onto it like that. So again, those are the two things for me. How are we going to line up our knuckles, making sure that we get our knocking knuckles to be somewhere in between our big and knocking knuckles, not getting too far this way, but also not getting too far that way so that we can get our rear arm into a good position to hit, and then making sure that we don't have the bat too far out in our fingertips or too deep in our palm and having them right where the fingers meet the palm. And that's going to get us into a really good position where we can get pulled back into a really solid hitting position to be able to then turn the bat back and whip the bat through the zone. If you want 2 free hitting drills, down in the comment section below, there's a pinned comment. Just click that and you'll be able to get 2 of our free hitting drills. So make sure you take advantage of that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give it a thumbs up, share with all your friends, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later. If you've got hitters that you're looking to improve before the start of next season, this is essential for you. Matt Antonelli here, former Major League player, first-round pick, and college coach. With this course, we're going to show you exactly, step-by-step, how to generate power, develop bat speed, and enhance swing mechanics. Regardless of your hitter's age, this course is going to deliver advanced hitting techniques that will allow any hitter to get better and make an impact at the plate this spring. We have a full catalog of training content that you can access from anywhere at any time. This course is perfect for players, parents, coaches, instructors, and more. It offers a comprehensive package of drills and techniques that you can directly implement. Our course has helped hitters all over the country at different competition levels, and the feedback that we've received has been outstanding. The work you put in now will drive your success at the plate this spring. Get the essential knowledge that you need to take your game to the next level.